Hi, Pastor Charlie here for New Hope Lutheran Church, and welcome to Pastor Charlie's Toolbox. So I got thinking this week that, if there was an emergency in our neighborhood, would we be able to find some rescue tools at our place? Something to help others out. And when you think of rescue tools, you might think, I don't think so. But you might be surprised, because I sure was. First of all, what if someone fell into a sinkhole or something? Well, I've got one of these big long ropes, heavy duty ropes, to throw down there and help pull someone else out. So that could be a rescue tool. Or what if I'm out on the water and someone can't swim and they're in the lake? I could always throw a life jacket, so that could be a rescue tool as well. What if someone, their car was teetering on the edge of a cliff? Well, I have a tow strap, a good heavy duty one you could hook on and pull them back. That's another rescue tool. Of course, if you're doing some rescuing at night, you might think of using a strong light, like this one. Use a good strong searchlight to find them. Or if you're in closer quarters, you might use one of these little gizmos. Just put that on and there you go. You got a light, see? And you can see what you're doing and help someone out that way. And yeah, you got the red and if people need to find you, they can always do this. Speaking of that, if other rescuers need to find you, maybe you have a whistle. And you use that so others can find you while you're helping someone else. Maybe they're somehow tied up some way and you need a good knife. You might have that at home. If you're trying to keep other people away from a scene, caution tape. You might want that in a rescue operation. What else? Of course, if there's a fire, maybe you have a fire extinguisher somewhere around and you know how to use it. And lastly, what if you're in a rescue operation where you're trying to find someone, but you have to cover so much area? Well, a good pair of binoculars might be handy for that, because you can just search out and find people that way. So, it might be kind of surprising how many things we have that could be used as rescue tools, depending, of course, on what the emergency is. The reason I bring this up is because of our gospel story today from Mark 4 verses 35 to 41, where we hear the story of how Jesus and his disciples decide to go out in the boat and cross the great big Sea of Galilee when an unexpected storm came up, a massive storm with waves so big that the water was just coming right in the boat. And even though most of the disciples were rather experienced on the water, they were freaking out because they were sure the boat was going to sink. And we might ask ourselves, well, where was Jesus in all this? Well, Jesus was laying down in the back of the boat taking a nap without a care in the world. So, needless to say, when things got desperate, the disciples woke him up and wanted to know if he was going to help out or if he was just going to sleep on his way to the bottom of the lake. Something strange happened then. Jesus began shouting at the storm, shouting at it, and telling it to settle down. Surprisingly, it did. Jesus actually calmed the storm. And in many ways, this miracle is an example of what Jesus does for us also. we can very easily get swamped in the storms of sin and evil and in danger of losing our very soul. Now, of course, we don't always see that in our lives, because if we aren't really paying attention to the guidelines anyway, it's pretty easy to become swamped in all kinds of trouble without even realizing what's going on. It's kind of like the disciples in this story. As experienced as they were with boats, they probably never would have set out if they would have known ahead of time how bad the storm would be. But when the wind picked up a bit, they were sure they could handle that. And when the wind picked up some more, the waves got higher, they kept on going because they'd been through that kind of weather before. But by the time the waves were totally beyond their control, they were too far out from shore to go back, and they were stuck in the middle of a really large lake that was really angry with them. They needed someone to rescue them. And what we need is someone to come and rescue us. We sin maybe a little bit, and it doesn't really seem to matter. So perhaps we sin some more, and we tell ourselves, oh, it's not all that bad. But then, when we finally realize how much trouble we are in, we also realize that we have a huge problem. Fortunately, when we call on Him, Jesus comes and rescues us as well, using the tools of patience, love, forgiveness, and understanding. What this story doesn't tell us is that because Jesus comes to rescue us, we are to do the same and rescue others in Jesus' name every day, using rescue tools like the Bible, like prayer, like standing up for those at the bottom of the social ladder. Jesus' miracles, they weren't done for show, but rather to demonstrate that He has the ability to rescue us and also makes us partners in rescuing others. So use the tools you have at your disposal and take Jesus with you on your rescue missions.